Hi, this is Wasted Lunch, and this is Paul McVeigh. I got my coffee, and my cigarettes, and my hat. So is there anybody out there doing anything today?
Give me that. That's my hat. I'm Paul McVeigh. What are you doing? What is going on here? Imposters. Like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something. An imposter. I mean, do you know how many people could have actually believed that was me on there when it wasn't really me?
A lot.
Yeah. What's happening, guys? There's Helen in the background there. She's eating her cinnamon toast. There, we'll get her off of there. She's being camera shy. What's going on, guys? Tuesday. Time. 12:32 p.m. Oven Standard Time. What's happening? Ready for wasted lunch? Got my coffee here, my smoke, and a floating plate of cinnamon toast in the background. What's going on, guys? On your coffee break, eating a sandwich that your wife or husband made for you so lovingly for your lunch. That plate is still there, isn't it? It is still there. Wow. The plate is still there. Oh my. There it goes. What's happening, guys? How are we doing? Go ahead and feel free to type or text me stuff.
You're gonna get sugar
Yeah,
on
you're gonna
Daddy's
get
head.
it over my head there. I don't want sugar all over my head. I'll be sitting here talking and then the ants will start climbing up my noggin. Really don't want that.
Use the weed whacker.
I gotta use a weed whacker on my head.
No, because of the ants.
Oh, the ants?
Inside of the weed whacker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my wife decided she was gonna use our electric weed whacker the other day. And now it's been quite a few days. But decided she was going to use that, and it's an old one. I guess it was working, right?
Yeah.
It was actually cutting through the weeds, and then she thought there was some kind of electrical problem, which good chance of that happening with an old weed whacker. Felt she was getting shocked all over her back.
And arm.
And arm. Thought she was getting shocked. Here she was covered in ants. Apparently inside where the motor is, and there's little vent holes for the motor to keep it cool. Ants had moved in there, and because the weed whacker was in the garden shed, and apparently a whole bunch of little red ants had moved in there and created a home. So when she decided to use a weed whacker, that agitated the ants, so they all came out and swarmed on her.
They were flying out of it onto me.
They were flying out of it?
Yeah.
Oh, because
air.
I guess they were zooming out of it because, there's air blowing out of there.
And then once they got on me, they were biting me.
Flying out of the weed whacker onto her and then biting her all over. So
I handled it like a man. I danced around, flapping my arms and screaming,
I guess she was
holy
jumping around,
shit.
flapping her arms and swearing and
yes. I handled it like the average man, though.
So she handled it strong. But, yeah. I had to hear about it. I didn't see her jumping around. I missed the whole
You probably would have taped
show. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we could do it again so I can film it.
No.
No, she's declining now.
Excuse me.
So, but anyways, yeah, I guess she...
Now there's a Pop-Tart wrapper floating in your background.
Yeah. So, but that's funny that happened because lately... If you guys have been watching at all, then I've been watching these old 50s movies, and a lot of them have been about giant bugs and insects. Like I watched Them, the old movie about the giant ants attacking people, and then my wife gets attacked by ants. So pretty funny, coincidental. And my daughter is trying to provide us some cheap visual effects here. But what's happening, if somebody gets on here and we start talking, I'm happy to talk about something else. Don't have to just talk about movies, although I've been talking about them a lot lately. I've been talking about the movies because I haven't lucked out and gotten a hold of a lot of people out there lately to converse about anything else, so I've been talking about the films I've been watching. But by all means, if you guys hop on here and you're watching, go ahead.
Hop on, they might knock your camera down.
Yeah. You can hop on and go ahead and interact with me. I'm, totally cool with talking about something else besides these movies I've been watching. I know not everybody digs these old science fiction horror movies from the 50s and 60s and stuff, but that's just what I've been watching lately. I tend to get into kind of kicks, I'll start watching, like I was on a Godzilla kick. Watching a lot of Godzilla movies there for a while. Get on these kicks and get the taste of something. Like a wild animal, I get the taste of something and I want more of it. So the Godzilla thing, I watched a Godzilla movie, got excited about it, and then I wanted to see more and more and more. And of course, I still didn't watch all the Godzilla movies there are out there. There's still some that I have not seen. But just lately, it's been these old science fiction movies, mainly lately. I've always enjoyed watching the older films, but lately it's been the old science fiction films. So, what's up, Jeff? Feel like it, go ahead and type something, interact. Feel free to. Lately, I've been talking about these old science fiction films. Good thing about these old films is when you're like me and you got younger kids, most of these old films are safe to watch around now. You can get away with watching these movies and not have to worry about your kids freaking out or something like that. That's another good thing about these movies. What's up, Chris? How we doing? Hope things are going great your way. But since I've been on this kick, I watched last night The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Any of you guys ever watch that movie? I'm going to go get some coffee. But I just watched that last night. Good flick. Good old movie. If you guys know of Ray Harryhausen. He helped make a lot of movies in the 50s and 60s. Heck, even up through the 80s. Did that stop motion stuff with the creatures, Taking one picture at a time of these guys, these monsters moving around. I'm looking for the creamer. Doing the stop motion creature effects for these movies. And, what was I going to say? And he did the effects for this movie. And with this, like a lot of the 50s movies, what happened was they were testing a new atomic bomb. And, okay, here we go. Let's see. Chris says he's good. He's been working like crazy. Sorry, just got that through there. Well, I'm glad you're doing good. Hope you find ample amount of time to recharge your batteries and get things going. I hope your work is paying off for you, man. Hope you're being productive and making some moolah out there. Because I know I'm not right now, but I digress. Chris, you ever watch any of these old movies, these old giant monster movies? This Beast from 20,000 Fathoms I watched was a good flick. These guys were testing a new atomic weapon or something out in, I think off of Nova Scotia or somewhere, really cold. Anyways, they explode this iceberg and release this prehistoric beast from 20,000 Fathoms. But black and white film, but the stop motion animation was great in it. The guy who first seen this creature, nobody believes him. They think he's crazy. And some other people, Canadian fishermen and stuff, start getting their boats wrecked and they start getting killed, and another one of them survived, and he talks about seeing this creature, and it even gets in the paper. But the first guy who saw one was a professor, but he was into like a professor of, he studied stuff like atomic science and stuff like that, you know. I don't know the technical word. I mean, you gotta give me a break here. But anyways, doesn't matter. Eventually, they convince paleontologists that this thing might actually be real. And this thing obviously ends up being real. This creature, this giant prehistoric dinosaur, ends up moving its way from up in Canada down to Massachusetts, wrecks a lighthouse, and ends up finally in New York City. Yeah, New York City. New York City! Yes, that's where he ends up being. And, of course, that ends up being a great playground to watch this creature, this beast from 20,000 Fathoms, go on the warpath. And they did a real good job of this beast running through New York City and wrecking stuff and raising hell. This is a good old movie, man. Very enjoyable. It took me a long time to see that. Let's see. Sorry, Chris, just whatever you put just finally came to me. It says me too. Hopefully I'm getting somewhere. Yeah, you saw it. Did you enjoy the movie? I enjoyed it. And I think what helps me enjoy them more is I try as good as I can. I wasn't around back then in the 50s. But I try and think of the mindset these people were in back then, before we had even been to space or anything like that, when the world seemed so much bigger, before GPS, before Google Earth, before the internet, where you can find out anything about any place instantly like that just by typing it into your phone. I try and think about just how amazing and how healthy the imagination was back in those days, you know, before you had facts instantaneously. You know, now you get in a debate with somebody over something, and they go ahead and Google the question, and then they find out, and you know, the internet's great for information, but I think it kind of stunts the imagination a bit, you know what I mean? With the access to facts so easy. You know, back in the days, people had to go to libraries and look stuff up to figure it out. But I just think, I try and put myself, try to imagine if I was around back in the 50s and saw these movies. You know, they didn't have Jurassic Park movies to watch with the fancy computer animation. It had to have been amazing. Plus, another cool thing, and this is using the internet to go back in time. I go on imdb.com, internetmoviedatabase.com. I go on there and I read these reviews about these old movies before I watch them. And there'll be a lot of people on there, a lot of older folks who will leave reviews of these movies, and a lot of them will talk about how, when, and where they first saw these old movies. You know, like one guy put on there that he had seen it when he was about 6 or 7 in the movie theater, and in his review, and he talked about, you know, what an experience it was to see this giant creature tearing up New York City, and it was amazing. Let's see, Chris puts it's okay, but I guess if you looked at it, like I would, it would have been better. Right. Well, and that's the thing, Chris. It's hard to us folks here. We're now in the 21st century. You know, and we've got the computers to make everything look possible visually, you know, on these films. And so now, I mean, it's like when I first seen that Snoop Dogg video where the people's faces, they were turned into dogs. When I saw that video, I was like, well, here we go. Nothing's going to be surprising from this point on. Stretching there. You know, I was like, well, see anything on TV from now on, you're going to have to question whether or not it's real. I mean, because I saw that video, and, you know, look, maybe the animation isn't that great now compared to what we have, but when I saw that Snoop Dogg video, I came to the realization that, man, they can do anything with these darn computers. So, but yeah, going back to the IMDb.com thing, which it's a great website. You know, doggone near every movie, any movie you can think of, there's some kind of information about it on there. Maybe not reviews on every single movie, but most of them there are. Not only do they put critic reviews of movies, they also put user reviews. And the users, of course, are normal folks like me and you, who are not Leonard Moulton or Roger Ebert or Gene Siskel. We can put in our own reviews. So those are the ones I'm always reading anyways. I don't read the critic reviews. I read the regular guys and gals reviews. That's who I want to see. I don't want to hear it from a professional. I want to hear it from just a regular person. But like I said, I'll look at these reviews first, and that will help with my anticipation. But of course, you got to be careful reading reviews because a lot of reviews will have spoilers and stuff. So that's another thing to look out for. But yeah, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. And I watched the movie later on as it got later in the day or night. It's my older son. He's 17. One of my older sons, we'll put it that way. So I have an even older son, but he wanted to watch Helter Skelter, which I believe was made for TV back in 1975, and that was about the whole Manson family, Charles Manson and his creepy hippie family, and the murders they did. And which was, of course, some wacky shit. I mean, some disturbing stuff what they did. Horrible things. But my son had never heard about Charles Manson or the Manson family, and he's 17, and I don't know, I'd never heard of it. Of course, when I was his age, I had heard of all this, and hell, I might have seen Helter Skelter by the time I was his age. Anyway, so he wanted to see it, so we watched it. And disturbing, yes, hell yeah, of course it is. I mean, the subject matter is horrible. But it was, I think it was a well-made movie. But did you see Helter Skelter? Did you see it, Chris? Anybody else see that? The movie was told from the district attorney's point of view. He's the one who wrote that. Oh, let's see. Chris says, definitely watched lots of other movies. Didn't have cable forever, so I just bought movies all the time. I hear you, Chris. I still don't have cable. I'll admit, I'm watching stuff with that Fire Stick thing. I use my phone like a computer, since it basically is a little computer. And that's how I read about the movies. I have books about movies too. But then I usually watch these movies with the Fire Stick. But okay, I'm resuming. Got a call coming through, and just for the sake of this show, I ignored it, how important, but I'm going to have to call that person back. But yeah, I got books about all different genres of movies. And over the years, like you, I bought a whole lot of movies on DVD. I don't want to even guess how much money I've spent on movies, because, not the kind of guy with tons of money, but over the years, I have spent lots of money on movies. Got lots of DVDs, so spent way too much money on movies, but I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of them too. But I also have books on all different genres of movies. I got books that are about nothing but horror and sci-fi movies, reviews, books about mainstream movies, books about movies from the 50s and 60s, and all different books, because, I bought these books before the internet was super hot. So I bought these books for information about movies, because I like reading about movies too. I don't like just watching them, I like reading about them. In fact, I think sometimes I've spent more time before reading about movies than I have watching them. I went through spells, because I don't know, I like movies a lot. But IMDb.com, yeah, that's a great tool there. And the Fire Stick thing, yeah. Only thing about the Fire Stick is, I don't know if anybody else encounters this problem using it. You've spent a lot of dough on the movies too. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, they're not cheap. Especially, I don't know if you were in on the beginning of the DVD, when DVDs first started out. I don't know if you were buying movies back then, Chris, but they were all top money for the DVDs. They weren't cheap at all. You didn't have these bargain bins of DVDs when they first came out. And the selection of titles was very limited too. I mean, there was not a very big variety of movies to buy back then. And they were all top price. So, but now, of course, you got used stores where people trade in old movies and stuff like that, and you can get them for cheaper. But the Fire Stick thing I've been using. But what I was going to say, and this was until I got a phone call that came through, was that, what the hell was I going to say? Oh, the Fire Stick thing. I'll start watching a movie and then it'll pause and say it's buffering, So I don't know what technically buffering means. I don't know if that means loading. Yeah. And this will happen. Sometimes in movies it'll happen a lot. And will get annoying, but then I will tell myself, Paul, you're watching this movie for free. So calm down there. You know, take it easy there, pal. Quit getting so huffy-puffy over it. But sometimes, yeah, it'll take a long time to watch a single movie because it'll start doing this buffering crap. And, you know, I mean, there's been some times where I've turned a movie off and decided, well, this is not worth sitting around here for 3 hours to watch an hour and a half movie. So, but the Fire Stick is what it is. That's what happens to me sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes it happens to me. And, you know, that'll turn it into a situation where I can't sit around and watch my TV screen say buffering for over half the time. I can't do that. Which happened to me last night because I was also going to watch The Thing from Another World, but that went into that buffering crap, and that's when I said, hell with this, I'm gonna watch something else. And that's when I put in a movie I had, which was It Came From Beneath the Sea. But I didn't sit around and finish that movie because it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was time for me to go to sleep at that point in time. But the Fire Stick, yeah, makes it easy. Well, one thing I do have, I don't know. My wife got set up on this thing a long time ago. Let's see. Chris is saying you see people selling them for $1 now, going, wow, you know how much they spend, and then sell it for $1. Yeah. They are going cheap now because everything's going to the online thing. I don't know what's a good word for it. Digital, where you know, digital downloads and everything. You know, you can get books digital, movies online, but not have a hard disc of them. People are spending their money doing that too. So, the discs are becoming cheaper. You know, I remember my brother and I talking about this stuff, with my brother telling me, you know, someday most of these movies and stuff are going to be watched from online, you know, streams or whatever. And by golly, he was right, man. That's definitely what happened. I ended up, you know, now people are watching most of their stuff just online. But, got that Prime thing. Still don't have cable. Still do not have cable. Got that Amazon Prime thing, the Prime Video. And didn't watch that for a long time because it had Netflix. You know, watch Netflix a lot. And Netflix is, a lot more of that is the mainstream movies. But just got back into watching the Amazon Prime thing. And I'm glad I did because I didn't know how many of these old, low-budget movies, the sci-fi and the horror movies they have on Prime. They got lots of them. Dozens and dozens of B-grade and below B-grade movies on Prime, Amazon Prime Video, I guess you call it. So I'm glad I started watching those more because, you know, you watch a movie you like and then, you know, there's something where it's like customers also watch this and then it'll have suggestions for other movies. So I found a lot of good cheesy old flicks on Amazon Prime. I don't know if you got that, Chris, the Amazon Prime thing, but you know, and the good thing about that Prime thing is don't run into that loading or buffering problem so much with that like I do the Fire Stick. And of course the, you know, Fire Stick thing, I don't know, I guess that's, well, they got those programs out there, I guess people jailbreak them and all that other stuff. I don't know, I'm not a technical guy when it comes to that computery stuff, but the Amazon Prime don't seem to run into those problems so much that you do with that Fire Stick and some of the programs on the Fire Stick for watching movies. Amazon Prime movies load up pretty good. So that, if you don't have it, that's a pretty good alternative. But with me living in the past from all these movies and not having cable, dude, I'm not aware of what's coming out all the time. You know, talk to friends and they'll say, oh, you hear about that new this and that movie? And I'm like, no, I have no idea. I don't keep up on modern Hollywood movies so much. Maybe I'm a little backwards. You know, that I'm watching movies from 60 years ago and not keeping up with what's coming out next week. But there are so many old movies I still want to watch that I don't know. I don't worry about the modern movies too much, you know. I just don't. And the new Hollywood movies, so many of them are kind of like, not necessarily remakes of old movies, but they're a lot of the same ideas are rehashed over and over again. I look at modern Hollywood as kind of like McDonald's, Burger King. It's kind of like fast food movies. You watch a movie and it has elements of 3 other movies you've seen put together because Hollywood has a process how they make movies to try and guarantee that they're going to get major returns on their movies. You know, they got the formula down as to how to make the movie and what elements to have in it. Try and guarantee or ensure that they're going to make loot off their movies. Now, I understand wanting to make a movie that's going to be successful. You know, I mean, you're making something with millions of dollars involved. Yeah, you want to see money come back from that. You don't want to lose money making a movie. I'm not saying that there weren't formulas for movies back in the 50s. There was, but I don't know. The old movies, the 50s through the 70s, and you know, there were. I don't know. There's something I like about them. That you know, back in the old days, though. Speaking of the formulas, you know, you had the daring dude, you know, the tough guy. Usually a square-jawed, you know, take no shit kind of guy in him. He was the hero, and of course you had a beautiful chick. Of course he had to protect her, and you know, that's how those movies were back then. Of course she was usually good at screaming, you know. And then you had the scientist who basically his job was to explain to the hero and to the audience what the hell was going on or what the possibilities were as to what these creatures or threats could pose. Let's see, great talk to you, but you have to go get your little man. Take care, bud. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in, Chris. You take care, too. Have fun hanging out with your lad, dude. Take care and good luck in your work. Don't work too hard. Make sure you take some breaks, buddy. Enjoy life. I'll see you later. But yeah, so the old movies had a formula too, you know, and so you'd have the scientist, the hero guy, and his love interest, who, you know, I mean, that's how movies were, you know. A lot of them did not have the tough heroine lady. I mean, it just wasn't a thing back then. It was, you know, they have the guys protecting the gals back in those old movies. they had their formulas for their movies, and call them cheesy, corny, or whatever. Which maybe they were. But what I liked about the movies was I'm not a huge computer animation fan. Okay. And maybe that makes me corny. That I would rather see stop motion animation. You know, of a creature tearing through New York City. Maybe that makes me cheesy and corny too. But I would prefer that. I would prefer to see, you know, this claymation monster tearing through New York City than I would computer animation. Oh, my dog is whining. What is wrong with you? My dog is whining her butt off here. Relax, would you? What's wrong with you? Yeah, that's what I would prefer. I gotta try and pet my dog. She's whining at me. Something about the computer animation just does not thrill me. It does not grab me. It's just a little too clean, a little too perfect. It's something about it. I don't know. Maybe I appreciate the art and craftsmanship that went into the older movies and physically making the props, physically making these monsters that are in the movies. I can suspend my belief enough to watch a lot of these older movies without snickering and laughing at them. You know, when some real effort has went into making these creatures. I can imagine. I can, you know, quit being an adult for a while, sit back, and enjoy the movie for what it is, for entertainment. I don't have to have everything super convincing in front of me when it comes to the effects. And sometimes I think the computer animation is just too perfect to where it loses that three-dimensional appeal that you do have when there's a claymation, stop motion, whatever you want to call it. You know, you have that depth and that texture to it that computer animation just still, in my opinion, does not portray. It just doesn't have that depth to it. So I still appreciate these old movies. And I don't spend a lot of time making sure I'm not too concerned about what new Hollywood movie is coming out right around the corner. I just don't. I don't break my neck trying to see what's going to happen with these brand new movies. That's me. That's where I'm coming from on these old flicks. So, but right now, yeah, I'm still in the old 50s, 60s science fiction kick. I've spent a lot of years enjoying the old horror films, but not so much of the years really seeking out the science fiction movies, I guess I would say. So that's what I've been doing there, and so, of course, since that's what's going on with me, I'm going to end up mentioning it here on Wasted Lunch. But let's see, let me check the time, guys. Oh, it's 1:10 Oven Standard Time. So I've been on here for a while. I'm going to get off of here and try and make myself useful. Got things I have to do. Tuned in. Thanks for watching. Try and, you know, maybe you want to consider some of these old flicks. And maybe when you do watch them, maybe you want to consider the times in which these films were made. Because I think by myself doing that when I watch these older films, by considering where what was considered state-of-the-art back then, and where technology was, not only in filmmaking, but in science. When I consider that before I watch a movie and try and put myself sort of into that mindset, which does sound difficult, doesn't it? It's kind of difficult to pretend or maybe unsee what you've already seen with today's modern science, which someday won't be so modern. When I go into these movies, watch these movies with that mindset, I believe it makes them a lot more enjoyable for myself. That's what I believe. So maybe you wouldn't try and do that and give some of these old flicks a chance. And if you do, by all means, hop on here sometime. Share your opinions about it. Good, bad, I mean, hop on here. Talk. It's what it's all about. I'm going to try in the future to get some more afternoon broadcasts. That seems to be when things are hotter, when I can get a hold of people's ears a little better, and that's always fun. It's always a lot of fun when got more people interacting with me. It makes it much more enjoyable. So try and do some more of those. Till then, I'm going to sign off, guys. I'm going to wish you guys the best of days, best of times. And I'll be back on here tomorrow to talk about something else, Like I said yesterday, I might talk about another movie. I might talk about something completely different. All depends on if I can get some people on here. But take it easy. Be good. Have fun. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you later, all right? Bye.